Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics is a treatise on ethics that focuses on the nature of human happiness, the virtues and vices that can lead to or prevent it, and the role of practical wisdom in making moral decisions. The work is named after Aristotle's son, Nicomachean, to whom it was dedicated. The book is divided into 10 chapters or books, each addressing a different aspect of ethical theory. The first book begins with a discussion of the nature of happiness, which Aristotle defines as the ultimate goal of human life. He argues that happiness is not a fleeting emotion, but rather a state of being that is achieved through a lifetime of virtuous action. Aristotle then explores the different kinds of virtues that can lead to happiness, including intellectual virtues, such as wisdom and understanding, and moral virtues, such as courage and generosity. In the second book, Aristotle discusses the concept of moral responsibility and the role of habit in shaping our character. He argues that our actions are not determined solely by our environment or upbringing, but also by the choices we make and the habits we cultivate. He emphasizes the importance of developing virtuous habits and avoiding vices to lead a happy life. The third book focuses on the concept of voluntary and involuntary actions. Aristotle argues that actions that are done under compulsion or out of ignorance are not truly voluntary, and therefore cannot be judged as morally praiseworthy or blameworthy. He also discusses the role of emotion in moral decision-making, arguing that while emotions can be a valuable source of motivation, they should be guided by reason to lead to virtuous action. The fourth book explores the concept of justice, which Aristotle defines as giving each person what they are due. He distinguishes between distributive justice, which involves the fair distribution of goods and resources in society, and corrective justice, which involves the punishment of wrongdoers. Aristotle argues that justice is a fundamental virtue that is necessary for any society to function properly. In the fifth book, Aristotle discusses the concept of friendship, which he considers to be one of the most important aspects of a happy life. He distinguishes between different types of friendships, including those based on utility, pleasure, and virtue, and argues that virtuous friendships are the most valuable and long-lasting. The sixth book continues the discussion of virtue, focusing specifically on the virtues of courage and temperance. Aristotle argues that these virtues are essential for leading a virtuous life and that they involve finding the right balance between excess and deficiency. The seventh book discusses the virtue of truthfulness, which Aristotle considers to be an important aspect of moral character. He argues that truthfulness is necessary for maintaining the trust and avoiding deception, and that lying is always morally wrong. The eighth book focuses on the concept of intellectual virtue, which Aristotle defines as the ability to reason well. He argues that intellectual virtues are essential for leading a happy life, as they allow us to understand the world and make good decisions. The ninth book explores the concept of practical wisdom, which Aristotle considers to be the most important virtue for making moral decisions. He defines practical wisdom as the ability to apply general principles to specific situations and argues that it is necessary for finding the right balance between different virtues and for making moral judgments in complex situations. Finally, the 10th book concludes with a discussion of the nature of pleasure and its relationship to happiness. Aristotle argues that pleasure is a natural and necessary part of human life, but that it should be guided by reason and not pursue its own sake. He emphasizes that true happiness is not just a matter of experiencing pleasure, but of living a virtuous and fulfilling life. Overall, Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics is a complex and nuanced exploration of ethical theory, with a focus on the importance of virtue and practical wisdom.